Imagine finishing a meal in London. The waiter brings the bell, and you hand over a colorful Scottish banknote. The waiter shakes their head. You might argue, wait, this is British money, it's legal tender. But technically, you'd be wrong. The phrase legal tender actually has a very narrow technical definition. It doesn't mean a shop or restaurant has to accept your cash for everyday goods. It strictly refers to the specific currency that must be accepted if you are trying to pay off an existing debt. If you are in England or Wales, the only paper money that officially holds that legal tender status are these, the polymer banknotes issued directly by the Bank of England. Now, look at these Scottish and Northern Irish notes. They are perfectly acceptable, everyday currency that you can spend almost anywhere in the UK. But in the eyes of the law, they aren't technically legal tender. Curious, observant. This quirky legal distinction points toward the Bank of England, the single institution that centrally manages the UK's monetary reality. Fast forward to July 2026, and the UK is facing a massive political shakeup. Following a historic collapse in local elections, Keir Starmer resigns as Prime Minister, abruptly clearing the way for Andy Burnham to take office. At the exact same time, a renewed conflict in Iran sends shockwaves through the global economy. Crude oil climbs close to $90 a barrel, threatening to drive up the cost of living almost overnight. With the domestic government in a state of sudden transition and global energy markets in turmoil, the responsibility of stabilizing the teetering UK economy falls entirely on the Bank of England. Since abandoning the gold standard in 1931, the pound has operated as a fiat currency, meaning it isn't backed by physical gold, but entirely by trust. Maintaining that trust requires active, daily management. Instead of balancing physical gold, a group called the Monetary Policy Committee is tasked with keeping the nation's inflation rate steady at a strict target of 2%. The July 2026 Middle Eastern conflict disrupted this system. As global oil prices surged, higher energy costs rippled through supply chains. Consequently, the UK inflation rate overshot its target, jumping to 2.6%. This is exactly when the Bank of England is truly tested. They can't control global oil prices, but they have to respond mechanically to the resulting inflation without throwing the broader financial markets into a panic. To fight rising prices, the MPC relies on one primary tool: the bank rate. This is the baseline interest rate that influences every other loan in the country. Faced with the 2.6% inflation spike, the committee held a vote. Instead of reacting aggressively, 7 of the 9 members voted to hold the bank rate steady at 3.75%. Keeping the baseline rate at 3.75% ensures borrowing costs remain high. This makes people and businesses borrow less, intentionally sapping demand from the economy. Cooling domestic demand creates a firewall, ensuring the temporary oil shock doesn't trigger a permanent cycle of runaway prices. Adjusting that single abstract percentage is the precise mechanical mechanism the Bank of England uses to successfully absorb massive international shocks and dictate the actual purchasing power of every citizen. Crucially, this mechanism operates entirely outside of political control. Governor Andrew Bailey and his committee make these decisions independently of whoever happens to be sitting in number 10 Downing Street. By holding the rate at 3.75%, rather than hiking it up to 4% in a panic, the bank maintained a relatively benign economic baseline for the country. That steady hand acted as a vital political buffer. It prevented immediate market chaos and gave incoming Prime Minister Andy Burnham the economic breathing room he needed to launch his new cost of living policies. While politicians are often forced to react to the crisis of the day, the Bank of England's operational strategy is built to look 3 years ahead, steering the ship smoothly as governments inevitably come and go. Those invisible macroeconomic levers are what give weight to the polymer notes sitting in your wallet. The value of your money depends on the centuries-old machinery of the Bank of England, operating daily to insulate your currency from global economic shocks.